Welcome to Daily Current Affairs by Civic Center IAS, where we will discuss the important articles from the Hindu, Indian Express and the PIB from the UPSC CSE Prelims perspective for the day 25th March 2025. So the first article here says that the Supreme Court Collegium on Monday confirmed its decision to recommend the transfer of Delhi High Court Justice Yashwant Verma to his parent court. In this context, we will talk about the Supreme Court Collegium system. See, the Collegium system is a mechanism for the appointment and transfer of judges in the Supreme Court and the High Court. Significantly, it is not explicitly mentioned in the Constitution, but evolved through judicial interpretations. So how did it evolve? See, in the first judge's case, the president was not bound to consult the Chief Justice of India. But in the second judge's case of 1993, CJI and a group of senior judges have primacy in appointments and the collegium system was established. Then, in the third judge's case of 1998, the Supreme Court Collegium was expanded, consisting of CJI and 4 of his senior-most Supreme Court judges. Now, who all are there in this Supreme Court Collegium? See, this collegium is headed by the Chief Justice of India. So, also the 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court are the members of this collegium. So, this collegium recommends names for the appointment and transfer of judges to the President of India. Now, moving on to talk about the next article, it talks about the concept of DNA polymorphisms. So, what is DNA exactly? See, deoxyribonucleic acid is a molecule that carries a genetic information in the cells of all living organisms. So, talking about DNA polymorphisms. See, polymorphisms are variations in DNA sequences that occur at least 1% of the population and are used to differentiate the individuals. Furthermore, we have the short tandem repeats, which are the specific regions in DNA where short sequences of bases are repeated. So, these STRs vary in length between the individuals, making them useful for identification. So, what are the short tandem repeats? They are the sequences of bases which are G, A, T, C that are repeated multiple times in the DNA. So, these STRs are highly polymorphic, means that the number of the repeat units varies between the individuals, making them excellent markers for the DNA profiling. So, what is this DNA fingerprint? See, a DNA fingerprint is a profile made by analyzing multiple STRs in an individual's DNA. Know that it is unique to each individual except for identical twins and is used in various applications such as establishing the parent-child relationships, forensic identification from crime scene evidence, and also disaster victim identification. So we have various applications with respect to DNA fingerprinting, like in respect to the criminal justice system, to identify suspects or exonerate innocent people. Then paternity testing, so to establish parent-child relationships, disaster identification, to identify victims from disasters, and lastly, organ donation, to exclude incompatible organ donors. Now moving on to talk about the next article, it talks about the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. So, the primary objective, see, this was launched in 2005 by the Ministry of Rural Development, where the primary objective of the scheme is to guarantee 100 days of employment in every financial year to adult members of any rural household willing to do public work related unskilled manual work. Know that the Panchayat Raj institutions will implement this program, and the person days under this MGNREGA are defined as the total number of work days by a person registered under the scheme in a financial year. So the two main objectives of it are, firstly, to enhance the livelihood security of the rural poor by creating wage employment opportunities, and secondly, to develop a rural asset base to boost productive employment, augment household income, and sustain economic well-being. So if you have to look at the various features under the MGNREGA, firstly, the Act grants a legal right to employment for adult members of rural households, with at least 1/3 of the beneficiaries being women. Furthermore, if the work is not assigned within the 15 days, the applicant is entitled to receive an unemployment allowance. So this allowance is 1/4 of the minimum wage for the first 30 days and a half for the following period. Significantly, the Gram Sabhas recommends and oversees at least 50% of the projects, and the cost sharing is done between the central government and the states. Moving on to talk about the next article, it says that a Namibian female cheetah, Jwala, and her 4 cubs were reportedly pelted with stones by villagers in Shirpur district of Madhya Pradesh while attempting to hunt cattle calf. In this context, we'll talk about Cheetah and then about Project Cheetah, and also we'll look at the Kuno National Park. See, the cheetah is a fast-running big cat, which there are 2 types of cheetahs, African and Asiatic. And they live in 3 main groups, where one group is female with cubs, second one is male coalitions, and lastly solitary males. Significantly, they hunt during the day and preferring dawn and dusk. Know that the IUCN status is vulnerable globally, and for the Asiatic cheetah, it is critically endangered. So, in the Project Cheetah, we have something called as Project Cheetah, which is the Cheetah Reintroduction Project in India, formally commenced on September 17th of 2022 to restore the population of cheetahs, which were declared extinct in the country in 1952. Know that the translocation of cheetahs from South Africa and Namibia to Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh was done, and you have to remember that this is implemented by the National Tiger Conservation Authority in collaboration with the Madhya Pradesh Forest Department, Wildlife Institute of India, and cheetah experts from Namibia and South Africa. Now, what are the main objectives of this Project Cheetah? See, first objective is to restore the ecological control of cheetahs in India's ecosystem, and then to promote conservative efforts for cheetahs. Then, moving on to talk about the Kuno National Park. See, it is located in the Shirpur district of Madhya Pradesh and is named after the Kuno River, which is a tributary of the Chambal River, and this cuts across the sanctuary, National Park. So, established as wildlife sanctuary, it was only in 2018 that the government changed its status into a national park. Furthermore, this national park was selected under the National Action Plan for the introduction of cheetah in India. Now, moving on to talk about the next article. It says that in response to growing global maritime challenges, including China's increasing presence in Africa, the resurgence of piracy, and the ongoing threats from the Houthi rebels, the Indian Navy has launched new initiatives to strengthen the cooperation with African nations and broader Indian Oceanic region. So, we'll look at the initiatives in brief. See, firstly, the Africa-India Key Maritime Engagement, and this is the short form for it. It is a multinational maritime exercise designed to foster stronger naval ties between India and 10 African countries. Know that this exercise aims to improve maritime security cooperation, address common challenges such as piracy, and enhance the sharing of information on regional security issues. So it is done in Tanzania, and the participants are India, Comoros, Djibouti, Eritrea, Kenya, Madagascar, Mauritius, Mozambique, Seychelles, and South Africa. Moving on to talk about the Indian Ocean Ship Sagar Initiative. So the IOS Sagar is a deployment initiative designed to bolster maritime cooperation between India and African nations in the Southwest Indian Ocean region. Note that this initiative involves INS Suyananya, which is an offshore patrol vessel which will be deployed to patrol the exclusive economic zones of the Tanzania, Mozambique, Mauritius, and Seychelles. So, they are deployed from April 5th to May 8th. Right. So, moving on to talk about the next article. So, it says that the India's HSBC flash PMI slipped to 58.6%, 58.6 on a slower service sector activity in March 2025, as against 58.8 in February 2025, according to a statement from HSBC. In this context, we'll talk about the Purchasing Managers Index. See, it is an economic indicator that measures the health of manufacturing and services sector. Know that it is published by HSBC and S&P Global in India. So, if it indicates above 50, it means that there is expansion business activity, whereas the reading below 50 indicates contraction in the business activity. So, how is it relevant in the Indian economy? Firstly, it provides real-time insights into economic trends, right? And secondly, it affects the investor confidence and business decisions. And lastly, it is used by policy makers like the RBI and Finance Ministry to assess the economic health. Okay, so know that it is measured monthly, and that's why it serves as a good economic indicator. Now, moving on to talk about the last article. So, the Reserve Bank of India's $10 billion 3-year dollar rupee buy-sell swap auction on Monday to inject long-term liquidity into the system was oversubscribed 2.23 times. In this context, we'll talk about forex swap. See, a forex swap is a financial agreement between two parties to exchange a certain amount of one currency for another and to reverse the transaction at a later date, usually with an agreed upon exchange rate. So, there are two types of forex swaps. The first one is currency swap, which involves exchanging principal and interest payments in one currency for principal and interest payments in other currency over a specified time period. Then we have something called as a foreign exchange swap, and this involves two parts. The first one is spot transaction where the currencies are exchanged immediately or within 2 business days, and secondly a forward transaction where currencies are exchanged at a future date. So what are the main benefits of this forex swap? See, firstly, central banks use the forex swap to manage liquidity in their local currency market. So by swapping the currencies, they can ensure sufficient foreign currency liquidity in the market. Secondly, forex swaps can be used by central banks to stabilize their domestic currency by injecting foreign currency into the market and managing exchange rate fluctuations. Thirdly, the investors and the financial institutions use forex swaps to benefit from differences in the interest rates across the country. So, in this video, we have discussed 7 articles in total which are relevant from the prelims perspective. We'll be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.